Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. You're liable, you're liable to start more businesses down the road just because you're going to get ideas. And if you start another business, you're probably going to be selling something like the rest of us. How do you think that translates into other businesses? And that strategy, that knowledge of kind of basically preparing the way in advance, taking basically you're getting rid of the time bombs, the minefield. You're removing the landline mines out there before you go, so you don't get blown up. And what is that? That's getting to know the client, the customer, what they want, and that's one thing. But what would you say? If you were going to start another business, how do you think that would carry over? You would use that knowledge to your advantage.
Well, certainly, if you're going to start a business, in today's environment, and
I'm making you a business consultant right now. So if we have you as a business consultant, they say, okay, that's great for you, but how can I use that information in my business?
My intent is to grow that business and sell it. I mean, the most important thing you can do is, have clean books. If you keep your books clean and they're easily understood by a buyer, it's going to be hard for them to discount you on the riskiness of, those numbers that you provide. The other thing you can do is focus in on, a business or industry where you've got like a subscription model and repeat customers or locked in customers, because that has value. Because, the biggest concern when you're selling a business for a buyer is that the day you come in the door, either you're not going to be able to operate it as effectively as the outgoing owner, or you're going to lose customers because they don't know who you are. So if there's any type of stickiness to that customer base, that's helpful as well. So those are kind of two things that I would look at, right off the bat, in starting a new business.
Well, and kind of the assumption there is that people can pick up from this is right. You can do it right from the beginning. The old Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. Start thinking about your exit plan on that business, even while you're starting, because the thing is, you could lose interest, you could max out, or you could get a disability, or you could die, and then your family has to sell it. And so then what's the exit plan? So what you're saying is a great point for us to cover on this, get people thinking about it. It's like, start to think from the beginning about how you're going to move this business on and make it super attractive to other people. And the first thing you say is the clean books.
Yep. Yeah, definitely clean books. And, to jump on your exit planning comments, I think the latest statistics I read were, 60% of small business owners right now are baby boomers. So they're looking at retirement, in the next 10 years. And if you look at the number of those people who have exit plans, I think then it's like 1 in 5. So you're looking at 20% have actually prepared for exit. So, if something comes up, death, divorce, disability or something of that nature, what's the plan for the business and the continuity of that business? So that retirement asset that you built, because a lot of these business owners, they don't have, a pension plan or a retirement plan.
Right.
The sale of their business is that plan. So if something comes up to interrupt that process and, destroys the value in that, retirement plan, I mean, that can really, really harm someone significantly. So we're always, emphasizing the importance of thinking about exit planning or even executing an exit plan, early, because it can be, it can never be too early to create that exit plan, but it can be too late.
Yeah. It's kind of like planning for retirement. It's like, and the thing is, if you're doing it late, it's a chore. It's annoying. but it's like turning your homework in early. If you get your homework done early or as you go, you still got to do the work, but it's not as quite the hassle, And so as these are some good things. And then you mentioned having recurring customers, you have everything where you built up a business where there are recurring sales built in there, but management teams, like what buy the business, but what, how much of the management team is going to stay there and what age are they and how motivated are they? What can I do to make them take the transition and, race out of the gate with a new owner rather than just kind of plod along. So what advice do you have on that? What have you seen work well on that?
Well, one of the things we've seen, especially in these lower middle market businesses where a solid management team's in place is, if we can create some type of incentive program, either from the buy side or the sell side for retention of those key employees, that's helped significantly. And we've done everything from on the buy side, right, to putting in, 12-month retention bonuses, to on the sell side doing, the same thing, right? So
how would that work? How would that work? 12-month retention.
Well, if the individual stays for 12 months or 24 months or what have you, they have, either a vested pension plan, put in place where that money becomes hard. If they leave with nothing. So, we've worked on that, with, other advisors, that we bring into the picture to, help facilitate the deal.
Yeah. Talk about what did you pick up that you find you're using? It's like we go to college and we usually wind up in a different major, but you pick up problem solving, you pick up relationships, you do pick up things and some of the technical knowledge you're going to use along the way. But if we looked at your experience, your 17 years at Ford Motor Company, what did you retain from that? What's the most useful from that for you on an ongoing basis in terms of your fundamentals, your platform for operating successfully as you go, through all of these things?
Well, I got my start as a process engineer.
Okay.
Right? So, for me, it's all about, all those checkpoints along the way. Once you've established your process, you gather data along the way, or you check boxes along the way to make sure, that you haven't missed anything. So that's a big part.
Let's just talk about that for a minute. What is a process engineer at a big corporation? Because these, manufacturing operations, the big time, are kind of like the airlines in the sense that checklist. And the reason why is they work and you got a lot at stake and you got to require a lot of people and train a lot of new people. So you got to have the checklist. And so talk about where you come in that, explain that to people. And those are things that we all need to think about when we talk about checking our business. If you go in to buy a company and they've got a lot of their processes thought through and they've got tons of checklists to take the guesswork out of how you succeed, that's got to be comforting to a new buyer, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. You talk about adding value. If you can document your processes, for the new owner to take a look at, and everybody knows their roles, their responsibilities in the organization, and they have those metrics in place, to evaluate how not only if things are getting done, but how well they're getting done. That's just a huge boost to a buyer from a confidence level. And, most buyers will pay a slight premium for that. So, there's like 15, core factors that I talk about, when buying a business, that you should look for, and definitely documented processes is one of those.
And so when you came in and they started you in that position, you probably got operational pretty fast, didn't you? Because it's a matter of following the checklist.
Well, I like to document pretty much everything, so I understand. So if I don't, know the process coming in, by the time I've executed it once, I at least have a roadmap. Right. And from that roadmap, you just continually improve it as you learn each time through. So that's that's something that I've, embraced, from day one, and helping businesses, transact. So either from the buy side or sell side, executing that process, refining that process, improving that process. And it's continual. There's always new technology coming in. People are talking about AI right now. I just used 2 AI tools, this past week to help me, get over stumbling blocks I had in preparing a business for sale. So, those kind of things will always be coming down the pipeline, and you have to be aware of them, and you have to, integrate them, so you remain both efficient and effective. And those are the 2 things I always want to be is efficient and effective.
And so what 2 things were those, and how did you learn how to, figure out how to make them work for you, let's say, to make you more efficient and effective?
I'll give you a quick example, and it's a new business I just put up for sale, and it's a structural engineering consulting firm. And I repeatedly asked the seller, what's your process? If you had to put it down in steps, can you tell me? And his answer is like, oh, well, the customer calls and I go talk to him, and then we, put a quote together, and then, we do work on the project, and then, it's done, and then we get paid. Well, can you elaborate on that? Well, no, that's about it. Nothing more. No, that's about it. So I went into Chat GPT. And I asked Chat GPT, tell me the, key steps, a structural engineering firm takes in, managing a project. And bang, here's 10 steps. And they're detailed.
Wow.
And so I send that over to my seller, and I'm like, look at this and tell me if this describes what you do. And his answer is like, oh, yeah, that's really good. That's exactly what we do. So there, what was a tough job? Well, he was making a tough job for me putting into my marketing documentation, a description of what he does. I got through AI.
That's great. And I'll have to remember that story when AI winds up replacing me.
Well, I got some good news for you. I did listen to an economist today talking about that, and he said that he didn't think that AI was going to take away jobs. What he thought is that people who use AI are going to take away jobs from people who don't.
Yeah. That's very believable. That's very easy to swallow, because it's really the answer or the take on all new technology. Like computers came, the railroad came. All of these things come. You either use it or you get beat by the people who do. It's just like you go to war and you like bows and arrows, and these guys got these newfangled rifles and everything. Who I don't understand all that smoke and everything. Yeah, you're going to get killed by them, Bo. No matter how
I look at it,
your bow and arrow
it's coming no matter what. So you're either going to embrace it and incorporate it, and benefit from it, or you're going to sit there, quiver in fear, and die from it.
Yeah. And what was the second thing that you used it for?
Well, we did the same thing with additional marketing materials to go out to specific industries. So I wanted data and information specific to industries. And, I went out and I asked the right question, like, what are the key steps, to buy a HVAC business, for example, and it brought me back information that said, here's the steps you should go through to purchase an HVAC business. Now I changed those significantly because, the reality is the output's only as good as the input, right?
Right.
And it's gathering stuff from the web, and it's synthesizing and analyzing it, and it's spitting something out. Well, the web's full of a ton of information and misinformation, and sometimes it picks up some of that misinformation and spits it back out to you. So AI is great for creating like the backbone or format, for something, to go out, but it's not always perfect. So, there's still a lot of refinement that needs to happen, when you get something back from AI. But I created like 12 blog articles and, flip of a switch, but, I did have to spend some time, correcting some of the information in them. But yeah, that's the other use of AI.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.